I came to Oakhaven in autumn. The leaves were turning, red and gold. The town felt old, very old. Secrets seemed to hang in the air like the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. I found a small cottage for rent. It was affordable and quiet. It stood near the beginning of the old mill road. People in town whispered about that road. Their voices always dropped low when they spoke its name. They advised against walking there. The old mill road was unpaved. Dirt and gravel, mostly. It wound deep into the whispering woods. It led to a forgotten, crumbling old mill. The mill's great wheel was still covered in moss. Beyond the mill, a house stood. It perched silently on a small windswept hill. The house looked empty, deserted for many long years. Its windows were like dark, vacant eyes. They seemed to always be watching the road, watching anyone who dared to approach. Most locals avoided the old mill road. They certainly never walked it after dusk. They spoke of strange, fleeting shadows that danced and twisted when no one was there. They mentioned sudden cold breezes, unexpected, bone-deep chills. Even on warm summer nights, the air there felt different. One evening, a thick fog rolled in. It came silently from the river like a soft, grey, smothering blanket. It covered everything in Oakhaven. The world became small, muffled and indistinct. Sounds were swallowed by the damp air. I decided to walk the old mill road. The fog made it seem even more mysterious, more alluring. I felt a strange sense of anticipation, as if I were meant to be there. Near the skeletal ruins of the old mill, I saw her, a figure standing in the swirling mist. She wore a pale, simple dress. It seemed to float around her, as if it were made of moonlight and fog. Her hair was dark as a raven's wing against snow. It fell softly around her shoulders. She stood perfectly still, watching the decaying mill, lost in thought, or perhaps lost in time. She turned as I approached, slowly. Her eyes were large and incredibly sad. A deep, old sadness, the kind that settles in bones and never truly leaves. We met again after that first encounter, and again, always at twilight, or when the moon was a thin sliver in the dark sky. Elara seemed to love the dim, fading light. She said it was kinder than the harsh sun, more truthful in its shadows. Our dates were simple walks, through the woods, along the whispering riverbank. She never suggested we go into town or sit in a bright cafe. She knew the woods intimately, every hidden path, every moss-covered stone, every ancient gnarled tree. She showed me flowers that bloomed only at night, their petals pale and luminous in the gloom. She told me stories, old stories of the town, of the mill's busy past, of the families who had lived and died here. Her voice made the tales vivid, as if she'd witnessed them herself. Her knowledge was unsettlingly deep. I tried to meet her in full daylight once. I suggested a picnic, a walk in the morning sun. Elara often spoke of the house on the hill. Her house, she implied, though she never stated it outright. She spoke of its creaking floors, its dusty rooms, its lonely corridors. She never invited me inside, however. When I hinted at visiting, she would say it was always being repaired, always too dusty, not fit for guests. Her excuses were always polite and always firm. One night, driven by a restless curiosity, I walked past it alone. The moon was hidden by thick clouds. The house loomed against the dark sky. A light flickered in an upstairs window. A single pale candle, perhaps. It glowed for a moment, then it was gone. The house looked darker than ever after that, more forbidding, as if it held its breath, guarding its secrets fiercely. It felt like a tomb. My own small cottage started to feel strange. The whispers in my cottage grew clearer over time, more insistent. Sometimes I thought I heard my name called softly, tenderly. It sounded like Elara's voice, but she was never there when I looked. I would call out her name, Elara. Only silence answered me, or sometimes a cold draught would sweep through the room. raising goosebumps on my arms, even when the windows were closed. Things escalated beyond whispers and drafts. A framed photograph of my parents, a cherished memento, suddenly fell from the wall. It crashed to the floor. The glass shattered into a dozen pieces. No one had been near it. The nail was still firmly in the wall. I felt a definite presence in the room with me then, unseen, but undeniably there, watching me, always watching. The feeling was suffocating. I told Ilara about these disturbing occurrences. I needed to share my growing fear with someone. She looked concerned. Genuinely so. Her brow furrowed, her sad eyes filled with sympathy. I finally decided I needed answers, real answers. I went to the Oakhaven Historical Society. It was an old, quiet building downtown, full of dusty books, faded maps, and the scent of decaying paper. I hoped to find something, anything, about the house on the hill, about Ilara, about the unease that now permeated my life. The friendly librarian seemed like a good place to start. The librarian was an elderly woman named Mrs. Gable. She had sharp, intelligent eyes and a kind smile. She seemed to know everything about Oakhaven's long history. I asked her about the house on the hill, the one by the old mill road. "Ah, Blackwood Manor," she said, her voice thoughtful. "That old place has a sad tale to tell." She led me to a shelf of local history volumes and old newspaper archives. That evening I met Ilara by the old mill, as usual. The air was heavy, oppressive. The sky was a bruised purple. I clutched the photocopied newspaper page in my pocket. My hand trembled. I had to know the truth from her. I had to hear her say it. The dread was a physical weight in my chest. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My carefully constructed reality was crumbling. "Who are you, Ilara?" I asked. My voice was barely a whisper, hoarse and strained. She looked at me. Her sad eyes seemed sadder still, wiser, older. The mist from the river swirled around her feet, making her appear even more ethereal, more insubstantial. She did not seem surprised by my question, as if she had been expecting it, waiting for this moment, for this painful confrontation. I was in love with a ghost. The words echoed in my mind, unreal, impossible, yet my feelings for Ilara were intensely real. The connection we shared, the understanding, the comfort I found in her presence, it was undeniable. How could this be? How could I love someone who wasn't truly there, someone made of memory and mist? My heart ached with confusion and a strange, deep tenderness. She explained that she could not leave the grounds of the old manor for long. Our walks along the river were her tether stretching thin, straining her connection to her anchor. The whispers in my cottage. Sometimes it was her trying to reach out across the veil to let me know she was near, or perhaps it was a part of her sorrow, an echo of her pain bleeding into my world. Her presence was a constant, gentle haunting. We continued to meet. It was different now, of course. A profound, bittersweet ache accompanied every stolen moment, every shared silence. I could not hold her. One night, Ilara seemed unusually distressed, more agitated than I had ever seen her. "He's growing stronger," she whispered. Her form flickered, like a weak candle flame in a strong wind. "He feels your presence here." "Who, Ilara?" I asked. A new kind of fear tightened my chest, a cold, sharp dread. This was not just about her sorrow anymore. There was something else, something darker. "The one who started the fire," she said. Her voice was faint, almost lost in the rustling leaves. "He never left either. He stayed. He enjoys the torment. He feeds on it." I suddenly realized the more aggressive disturbances in my cottage, the falling picture, the oppressive feeling of being watched by something malevolent. It wasn't always Ilara. There was another, an uninvited guest in our story, a shadow behind her light. Suddenly the air in the woods grew icy cold, colder than I had ever felt it. A harsh, cruel laugh echoed among the trees.